The Witcher 3 and Red Dead Redemption 2 are known for a lot of things. Some think they're the best thing to happen to gaming, others think they're overrated, but almost everyone will agree that they are masterpieces in storytelling. You'd have noticed most reviews of these games usually go like this. They have amazing stories, but what comes next might change, but the amazing story part never changes. The characters that occupy their respective worlds are the reason for the brilliance in storytelling. That's what we're going to look at today. Take characters from two games that are known for their characters and compare them. Before we get started, subscribe if you haven't already. I normally don't say anything, but just a friendly reminder/request. Let's start off with the protagonist. Arthur Morgan and Geralt of Rivia have a lot in common. First off, they belong to groups that are looked down by the general public. One is a witcher, another is an outlaw. But even though they are never treated well, they help, aid, show empathy and honor towards everyone they meet. Well, for the most part anyway.
I'm too old to get a job, mister. Way too old. Can't we be friends?
Sure.
I'm so happy. I ain't had a friend in a long time. Long time.
They're not known for wearing their hearts on their sleeves. Geralt has gone through mutations which make him that way, and well, Arthur is a savage. But throughout these games, they have their moments where their tough exterior is broken down. On a lighter note, they're hilarious. I mean, they aren't going around telling knock-knock jokes. It's almost always unintentional.
They got Micah and the sheriffs in Strawberry, and there's talk of hanging them.
Here's open. Arthur, what?
But don't get fooled by their jokes. When it's time to go, it's time to go.
And I'll take your tongue if you don't shut up.
In Arthur's own words,
We're bad men.
these are all the qualities that make them lovable and in turn one of the more iconic protagonists in gaming.
Fascinating story. Any chance you're nearing the end?
Let's move on to the heart of their respective franchises, Jon Marston and Cyrilla. We do get a chance to play as them, Jon in RDR 1 and Ciri in some parts of The Witcher 3. Arthur and Jon and Geralt and Ciri have a very similar relationship. In RDR 2, Arthur is kind of a mentor to Jon, and Geralt of course acts as a mentor/father in their little adopted family, consisting of the grumpy grandpa in Vesemir, the short-tempered mom who keeps everyone in check in Yennefer, and the lovable child who has the ability to destroy the entire world in Ciri. The first time we meet Jon is when he messes up and nearly dies, and it's kind of a trend in the game. Jon messes up, Arthur gives him an earful, but we know what Jon ends up as, and in my opinion, Arthur played a major role in that. Ciri is a child tied with magic that could potentially make or break the world. The whole with great power comes great responsibility deal, and that's kind of why Geralt is tough on her, or at least tries to be.
You've got work to do. Your reflexes are still slow.
Maybe for a witcher.
Think drowners or striggers will go easy on you because you haven't undergone the mutations?
By the end, Ciri either dies, becomes an empress, or follows Geralt's footsteps and becomes a witcher. We don't exactly know what happens after that, but I think it's safe to assume Ciri ends up fine. Well, if she isn't dead. If she ends up as an empress, she's smart enough to do well, as evidenced by her ability to survive on her own. If she ends up as a witcher, she would literally be unbeatable. She's overpowered to begin with, combine that with Geralt and Vesemir's teaching, and there's nothing that's going to trouble her.
You!
Exactly. So you'd best behave.
Let's move on to the mentors, Dutch van der Linde and Vesemir. Dutch is a charismatic leader who manages to inspire people in a way very few can. He's the kind of person people gravitate towards, but over the course of the game there are many moments where he doesn't seem like the enigmatic leader he once was. He gets progressively reckless and rash, but the group sticks with him not because of what he is now, but what he once was. Vesemir isn't the bundle of charisma touches, but he taught Geralt everything he knows, and Geralt is a smart man, so Vesemir has credentials. But unlike Dutch, Vesemir hasn't lost a step, at least mentally. He was hundreds of years old, even witches can't be in tip-top shape till then. So physically he wasn't what he once was, but he was just as smart, if not smarter than he was in his glory days. I think we all know who we love, but who's a better character? That's tough to say. There are many supporting characters in both games that steal the show. Yennefer, Charles, Micah, Triss, Dandelion, Hosea, Javier, Kyra Metz, Zoltan, Priscilla who sang her way into our hearts, and many more. Yennefer is a main character if you ask me. Choosing Triss over her makes no sense. Yen can be arrogant, annoying, angry. I mean, she teleports Geralt whenever she doesn't feel like talking to him. But Geralt and Yen are bound by magic, and even after the spell is broken, I don't see how anything changes. I have replayed the game countless times, but I chose Yen almost every time. Of course, I chose Triss once or twice purely for her missions, but that was it. I absolutely loved the last act of The Witcher 3. The main reason for that is Yennefer. She plays off well with everyone. The other Witchers, her battles with Vesemir, who much like Yennefer doesn't back down an inch. Her constant berating of Geralt, her maternal bond with Ciri, and all the politics going on with the other sorceresses. They are all entertaining to say the least. The third act in The Witcher 3 might be my favorite section of any game, and Yen is a major reason for that. Micah quickly became the biggest villain in gaming. He's annoying from the start. Every scene he is in, he's annoying, he manipulates, lies and puts everyone down. But his betrayal put him on the highest tier of unlikableness, if that's a word. But a character that inspires that level of strong emotions must be well written. There are many characters in The Witcher 3 where you spend a few hours with them, like Kyra Metz or Dandelion or Triss, where it's almost like a buddy cop movie, especially Kyra Metz. I made the grave mistake of not completing her entire arc the first time. These sorceresses are really intriguing because Geralt often has the upper hand with normal people, but when he's interacting with Kyra or Yen or Philippa, they do not back down, making for some fun conversations. Triss is kind of the exception. She's clearly fond of Geralt, and so she isn't trying to belittle him at every turn like every other sorceress, including Yen. Their dynamic is equally interesting, even though I feel Geralt belongs with Yen. Hosea, Javier, Charles are like brothers to Arthur, not by blood but because they have each other's back. Anytime you travel with any of these aforementioned characters, you'll hear all these wonderful war stories, personal stuff. They're like soldiers in the army, willing to die for each other but still constantly pulling each other's leg.
Alright, Charles, you and me hold the thing up while you try and put the wheel back on, Arthur.
You still strong enough to hold up a wagon?
Shut up.
I'm just saying.
Well, say less.
Minor characters like Priscilla and Zoltan may not be on screen for long, but they are so good you'll be left wanting for more. Priscilla's song is often used in debates of whether games are art or not. Zoltan on the other hand might not be a fan of the finer arts, but he is hilarious. One minute he's cracking jokes, the next he's cracking bones. He's almost always angry, which makes for some fun moments. One of the characters that I really wanted to see more. My favorites outside these characters is the Bloody Baron. His arc is basically like a hairpin bend. Every time you make an assumption, there's a turn and a twist. This goes on for a good few hours. The fact that you meet him pretty early is a teaser of what the world of The Witcher 3 offers. I'm tempted to say it gets even better, but I don't think many things get better than the dozen hours you spend in Velen doing quests for Baron. Sadie Adler, who you save in the first hour of RDR2, is a relatively main character, but because she was introduced as an outsider, I kept looking at her as an outsider. But the state she's in the first time you see her is no indication of who she is. She goes from being fragile because of her husband's death to one of the more fearless characters in the game. In the mission where Arthur and Sadie rescue Jon, even Arthur fails to keep up with her. Which game has the better characters? If it's just the main characters, it's definitely RDR2. They are more complex, multi-layered characters that are never what they seem, while The Witcher 3 is more straightforward. But if I take every character in the game, Witcher 3 is on a league of its own. Every character you meet on your journey is interesting. Even people you meet once make an impression. But if I had to pick just one game, I think I'm going to go with RDR2. But make no mistake, it wins by the smallest of small margins.